Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Love in the Red Zone by Belvin. Narrated by Winston James and Elyce Anthony. 1. September 2015. Trent. The whistle blew from behind me, calling the close of practice, but these three knew it wasn't over until I called it. "Legs up high, RJ!" I yelled to the tiring 8-year-old. He attempted it for a few feet before dropping back to low pushes off the ground. Sprints were the last activity of the night. The other player, Micah, had begun slowing too. Only number 1, Kyree, kept his high pace at this late hour. It was indeed time to call it quits. He'd always worked from an endless resource that sprang from the heart, which was why at age 6 he played with the 7- and 8-year-olds on his midget football team. It was also why, when the team was split to work on play strategies, he'd gotten assigned to me. Under the bright night lights of the field on this cool evening at the end of September, this boy was still wired to put in work. I remember that focus and determination. "And stop!" I yelled into the night breeze, my voice traveling across the field. RJ was the first to drop his stride. Micah came after him, trying to slow his tread where his little helmet let his cleats. It took a few seconds of comprehension, but Kyree broke his run. I eyed him closely, something I did often with this kid. The moment he slowed, I saw the predictable slump in his shoulders. Here he goes. "Last words," I ordered them to me before dismissal. I turned to gauge where the other players and official coaches were, knowing we were out of time. The field had begun to empty and cars started to pull out of the park. It was almost 9 at night. When I turned back to check on the 3 tykes, I caught Kyree ramming into Micah so hard his neck rocked back before his body gave out and face fell to the ground. "Yo!" I shouted before starting my lunges toward them. Micah began to wail, a reminder of why I preferred not to work with small kids. The only reason I did was because most were too young to identify me. It was their parents I had to worry about. I made it close enough to the boys. "RJ!" I called out to the 8-year-old while pointing behind me. "Your grandmom's over there waiting with your cousin. You did better tonight, but your knees stayed too low. Work on it," I advised, dismissing him. Oh, those little kneecaps raised high enough to carry him off the field in record time. I shook my head, turning back to the last 2. Micah was standing up on his own, which was a good sign. I didn't want to touch him, and didn't want to have to cause a ruckus back here. Kyree, pouting, had continued to the end of the field where everyone was exiting. "Hold up, little man," I demanded. I observed Micah as he wiped the dirt from his hands and knees. "You good, man?" "He pushed me for no reason. That's not fair." I could hear the rip in his vocals. Little man was trying to stay cool, but he was in pain from the fall. Kyree remained quiet. "Helmet off!" Kyree obeyed right away. I shook my head before going back to Micah. "I'll deal with him. But are you okay?" "Yeah." There was that crack again. But that told me the primary hurt wasn't in his body, it was his ego, and understandably so. Nobody likes to be the sucker. "Go ahead with your moms while I deal with Kyree." Micah limped off the field, still holding his pride. I turned to find Kyree standing on one hip, his helmet in the crook of his arm between his rib cage as he waited. "Yo, man, what's good? This is your 3rd time hitting somebody off play. You can't keep doing that." I kept my tone appropriate for his age. He wasn't my kid, and I technically wasn't his coach, though I'd been with him since the start of practice this season. Kyree didn't move or answer. His scowl was set out toward the leaving cars and last few players scrambling on the field behind me. "Okay, you don't want to answer? I told you the other day next time I was going to talk to Coach. He'll talk to your moms and see what she has to say." I turned on my heel and started toward the end of the field. From a quick glance over my shoulder, I could sense him following. This was bugging me out. Kyree was a good kid. He took instruction well, and his execution was like none of these other little guys out here. I was no rat. I knew I didn't like teachers and coaches telling my moms about my foul behavior. But something was off with little man. Since last week, each time we dismissed, Kyree would do something mischievous to get him extra laps while everyone left. The past 2 incidents, he took his laps like a G, but today, I didn't have the extra time. "What's up, man?" Jason, the real head coach and longtime friend of mine, asked as we neared him. He did it again, I answered, frustrated by this part of the job. What'd he do this time? His face turned hard as he looked upon the little guy. Rushed Micah out of nowhere. I sighed with relief. He didn't look hurt beyond his low feelings, but something's up with this one, I attempted to whisper. Damn, he swore under his breath. All right, Kyree, Mr. T here is going to tell your mother about your behavior. Me? My eyes bugged out of my head. Me? I asked Jason with them. I wasn't even a coach, just helped out. Now I was a rat. My 2-year-old just wet his pants. The wifey is ready to pull out. I mean, if you're concerned about being found out, I could tell her to hold up. But like Kyree here is with you, I'm on the outs with the old lady already, and I was hoping I could get a little taste tonight. He nudged me with his elbow and snorted a laugh. You may not know how it is to have to walk a tight line to get laid, he whispered. I sighed, cooling myself. Kyree was not too far from us and needed to be dealt with. He was 6, and I was sure exhausted. I pulled my hood, being sure it covered all of my head, hiding as much of my face as possible. Come on, little man, I called out to him before turning back to Jason. Move slow. If you see ruckus, come help out. I would haul ass out of there if this turned out to be a spectacle. This is why I questioned my involvement in this. Which car, Kyree? I grunted, much like a kid myself. I turned back and saw his little arm extended. His index finger pointed to a throwback Navy Beamer. I huffed, continuing my stride there. The car was off, but there was a flashlight going inside. I could make out a woman talking on the phone, notebooks and papers strewn around the front seat between her lap and the passenger seat. Shawnee, she droned as though bored while she shuffled through the pages. Not that I don't believe you, but isn't that hashtag team too much? I could hear what sounded like a woman on the other end replying. Not wanting to look like a damn peeping Tom, I decided to speak. Excuse. I cleared my throat. I didn't even know what tone the snitch took on. Excuse me. I glanced back to see Kyree tailing behind me. Little dude stopped just above my damn calves. Oh, damn! I heard shriek from the car. I turned back to her and saw her eyes, golden eyes, wild and cell clutched to her chest, panicked. I scared the hell out of her, I'd hoped. We stared at each other for a minute. She was regaining her senses, and I was trying to decipher if I was correct on that assumption, caught in the web of the exotic irises. Even in the shadows that only seemed to cover the top of her face, I could see her eyes narrowed into a scowl. After that, I decided she was just startled and not starstruck. Oh, my bad. Didn't mean to scare you. I twisted to bring little Kyree into her view. I just wanted to talk to you about Kyree. You're his mom's, right? Still shooting daggers for a while, she shot a suspicious eye over to the kid. She raised the phone to her ear. Shawnee, let me call you back. Not even waiting for a response, she tapped to end the call. Why did I all of a sudden feel I did something wrong? Yeah, I'm his mother. She tossed another glance over to him. Come on over here, man, I muttered. I didn't want to alienate him, or her. Kyree drug himself to my side by his shoulders. His eyes were now as long and remorseful as his pout. Damn. I help out the team, and Kyree has been in my group since they split to work on defense. For the past 3 practices, he's picked fights with other teammates right after dismissal. I licked my lips to keep from rolling my damn eyes at what I was doing. It's really not his style, but I told him after the last time that I would tell you if he did it again. She shifted in the car so her head was out the window where she could see her son clearer. Did he hit you first, Kai? It was 3 different kids, and no, they didn't bother him. He targeted them randomly, which is what I found weird. She shot those eyes to me again that I could now make out were hazel under the field lights. She was telling me to back off. She'd posed that question to her kid. I looked upon Kyree, who shook his head, unable to speak or look at her. Get in the car. She damn near growled at him, eyes squinted. That was a striking sight I shook off as quickly as I'd caught it. Kyree shot to the back passenger side. Seeing that reminded me of his age. On the field, he was a focused warrior, Walking off these past 3 practices, he was a damn antagonist. And here, under his mother's wrath, he was a 6-year-old. I kind of felt sorry for him. Look, I tried again, stepping closer to the car. Usually he's my best player, a leader out there. I just thought this was strange. I didn't want to hold you up with him doing extra laps tonight as punishment. I lied. I didn't have the time tonight, unusually. It won't happen again, she informed before snatching herself back in the car and turning to address him in the back seat. I couldn't hear what she said, but it sounded no different from what any other scolding a mother would give. I hated to do it, but the kid really needed to cut that nonsense out. I turned for my pickup that was at the end of the parking lot. A car rolled up in front of me, cutting my path. "Everything good?" Jason asked, peeking his head over his wife from the driver's seat. I gave a quick look over my shoulder and saw the old model Beamer pulling off. "Yeah, man. I hope for the little man." I cracked a dry smile. "Oh, well, dude gotta be handled. I'll see you tomorrow." I nodded just before he pulled off. Continuing my ride, I felt relieved. Why that had been such an ordeal for me, I had no clue. But for now, Kyree was his parents' problem. My volunteer work was done for the day.
Jade.
Yeah?
He muttered with his back to me. Mm-hmm. His little head nodded. No matter how many times I told him not to answer with gestures, he would slip up every once in a while. I wouldn't check him on it tonight, though. These circumstances were extenuating. It was clear in the slump of his narrow shoulders. My eyes drifted out the living room window where I'd opened the curtains for the corner street light to provide a dim light into the small apartment. I sighed again at forgetting to buy a new lighter from the dollar store earlier today. Right now, I just wanted to hurry up and get settled for bed. Get this night over with like the 10 before it.
Yeah, I know,
his little voice carried, reminding me of his age and mood. I couldn't believe he was 6 already. Seemed like months ago I carried him into the apartment for the first time since delivering him in the hospital. Life can pass you by that easily when you're always living for the next moment, hoping it was better than all those before it.
Okay, Dad, yeah,
he answered on a mumble, and I knew they were ending the conversation. Kyree trudged over to me, his head in front of his narrow shoulders, as he handed me the phone. I swallowed as I licked my lips. What did he say?
I took it from him with my heart ripping in my chest. He said to stop playing around and I could be the next Trent Bailey.
I gave him a slow nod to dismiss him. I didn't know anybody by that name, but I figured that guy was a football player. I told his father how the coach complained about Kyree's behavior. That was the one event I kept him up to date with. He insisted that our son play football for the past 2 years. He even managed to pay for it from prison. Yeah, I answered the phone to my ear while watching Kyree dump himself on the beanbag in front of the window. He grabbed his Kindle Fire and went to play a game. Yeah, that dude gonna be aight, man. You gotta stay on his ass and not spoil him.
Rashawn chuckled.
I felt my nose flare. He's gonna be taller than you in a few years, Jade. You gotta prepare him for manhood. Yeah, I'll do that after I find out how this rent is getting paid. You know, I added for dramatic effect, consciously lowering my tone, even the back rent. There was an eviction notice on the door last week. I'm trying. I swear I am. Things just a little dry out there now. But Little X told me to give him a few days for shit to start rolling in. That's what you said 3 weeks ago when we last spoke. I sighed, rolling my eyes. Listen, you think you the only one in my pockets. You forget I got 3 other baby mothers with the same damn crying game? Needing shit, I'm pulling out my ass. My neck snapped back. And yet I'm not aware of any of them or their kids about to be thrown out on their asses. I could have left this place when you went in, but you insisted that we stay here. Don't go white girl talk on me, Jay. Leave that stuck-up bullshit for the people who believe you. You ain't the only one draining me. Chantel got a brand new Benz, but I get evicted. Don't start that shit about her. You don't know what she got or how she got it. Just focus on yourself. Make sure your shit correct for when I come home. Chantel was his latest baby mother. I was number 2. I was no fool. I understood there was still an affair happening between them, where with Ryshawn and me, there were dying residual feelings from when we were together 4 years ago. A lot had changed since then, including my level of dependence on him. I stood in the bathroom taking the one lighter I had with little gas in it to start with Kyree's shower. I snorted. My shit has been correct for a while now. In more ways than one. I have a son to look after and no one to look after me. I'm making sure we eat and have a place to stay, and will continue to. Damn, Jade. It's only been a few weeks since shit dried. No, it's been 3 months since you've sent rent money. But it's all good. We'll be fine. I swallowed involuntarily, giving away my self-pity, my fear. Just hold it down till I get you something. I'm gonna be out soon anyway. And you know when I do, shit gonna be correct with us, right? I snorted again as I stood straight from lighting the candles in the bathroom and started the water. I remembered lighting candles in here for Ryshawn and me, an act of romance. Now I'm lighting them for our son to see as he showers. Come on, Kai, I shouted out the bathroom before returning to my conversation with his father. I have to go. I need to get him down for the night. And I knew it would be another long one for him. Kyree had been haunted since our electricity was cut off last week. There you go. Ryshawn snorted. Baby him. Let that little nigga be a... Click. I disconnected the call. Hurry up, Kai, I called out again. I'm right here, Kai, I whispered hard into the dark of the night. I used a small flashlight I came across at Family Dollar, next door to my job a few days ago, to provide light while I studied at night. I couldn't see him across the room in the shadows. His sniffling over there grew worse. But, Mom, I can't sleep. You can. It's not like you're by yourself. I didn't want to yell. He was only 6 and had not been used to this type of living condition. I may not have had my shit together, but I managed to stay above water. Until now. I'd been desperately waiting for a door to open, hell, a window. I broke down a few months ago and applied for Section 8 housing, hoping it would come through before not being able to pay the rent caught up to me. Ryshawn would have his boy drop off money to me at least every month to cover the rent and a few extra dollars to help with other expenses while I'd been in school. It stopped, and while he may have been honest about things drying up financially in his street game, what he wasn't willing to admit was that the widest open baby's mother's legs got fed first and the most. Chantel had still been committed to him. Tanya, baby's mother number 3, was still hoping to be his number 1 lady. I wasn't interested at all. I'd been hurt by Ryshawn too many times, and quite frankly, I'd outgrown him like baby's mama number 1, Lakisa. She was older than me and had her own house and car in Bloomfield. She was with Ryshawn in high school, and while he had a penchant for running the streets, she eventually submitted to the natural progression of life and got a good job that afforded her independence from the madness. I sighed as my eyes roved around the dark room, questioning how I ended up here. Hearing Kyree's grunting cry broke me out of it. I snapped my book closed and tossed it to the side. Come here, Kyree. In seconds, he leaped off the couch across from me and took big lunges until he made it to my sofa. I immediately cradled him in my arms, shushing as I rocked him. To fight back my own tears, I reminded myself of the current sparseness of the place. I'd packed up the apartment weeks ago, knowing I had little time left before something happened. Either we'd get the Section 8 or get put out. I hoped I could dodge yet another bullet and get out first. Life had never cut this close for me.
Trent. Your sorry ass still coming around, huh? He breathed out shallowly from his chest. I smirked, stretched my legs on the chair next to the hospital bed as I chuckled. He'd awakened. It relieved me he still had his mind. His appearance? Well, I knew to be grateful for the former. He'd been stretching this out for 20 years, according to him. But old Shank was still here. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be running down here if your attention-seeking ass would take care of yourself, I muttered, only partially looking at him. He lay so tiny and fragile in the mechanical bed, tubes and wires running all across, in and out of him. He was unrecognizable since the last time I saw him. And even then, he was a distorted version of his normal self. It was as though he'd aged 25 years in the past, too. Things grew quiet, and that gave me the opportunity to silently send up a prayer of gratitude to the man upstairs. In my regular prayers, I'd included Shank. He'd meant so much coming up. I couldn't speak out loud how much his sickness had weighed on me all this time. I loved him like I had very few. He'd invested so much in me from back when I was Trent Bailey, a number amongst many in the Camden City School District and sports leagues. He made sure I was an identifiable source of power on the field when I was in Pop Warner ball. He saw things in me no one had ever spoken, put his money where his mouth was when I couldn't afford to pay for my talent. He only stopped when my talent paid for itself and had never asked for anything in return but to be great. He demanded that shit. What he didn't know was I'd been here for close to 2 hours waiting on him to come out of the sleep fog from the meds they had him on to relax him. This was a tough visit, this trip to the ICU. It's this damn tuberculosis, man, he spoke with little breath. I nodded. Yeah, pulmonary. Trying to take you over, G. That and this damn hepatitis C that won't shake the hell off. He spoke with ghosted eyes and lazy lungs. Yup, and your CD4 was about 260 when they admitted you. I nodded again, my eyes out into the corner where the television hung suspended. These were secondary infections, complications of his primary condition. I'd learned a lot about HIV and AIDS in the past 5 years. As I was knee-deep in my trial, my uncle announced his diagnosis to our family and his friends. It was after a near-death trip to the hospital. He told me years before in confidence. He'd only told them when he thought he wouldn't make it. April filled me in last night when you were admitted. I tried coming then, but was too late. They'd cut visitation time. My eyes were trained ahead. Shank told me years ago when he'd revealed his status to never pity him, to never make him appear helpless or weak when the disease kicked his ass, because he knew it would one day. No one would have ever predicted this demise for Shank Daddy, the original Mr. Steal Your Girl. He was a regionally renowned stripper, getting a start at a local Camden club. In fact, lots of my relatives stripped, including my Uncle Trey and 3 of my older cousins. They all followed behind Shank here, the oldest. He made top bank, stripping since he was 16. He said he was a member of a traveling dance troupe, and later learned he had a cut-enough body for stripping, so he put the two activities together once the group dismantled and made a career out of being a male exotic dancer. He sure had the pretty boy features for it. All of the ladies lined up at his events and his home after hours wanted more. Their men envied and respected him. Even the hustlers wanted to be like Shank. They'd provide protection because they knew the women and local celebrity followed him. Shank heavily indulged in women, but he'd maintained a narrow focus back then. He worked and saved up for 5 years to buy his mother, my grandmother, a house of her own. This was no easy feat either. We ate like the help when this dude Shank brought in $2 to $3 grand a night. He never celebrated over the top, always banked his earnings and lived beneath his means. It frustrated everyone around, but at the end of the day, became the model I lived by when I got signed to the league. It saved my ass big time, millions, including my current home. You still quiet up north? He changed the subject. Still focused, still chill. In the league? Crickets. I took in a hefty breath as I sat up in my seat, eyes still glued above. But I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm keeping my mind, keeping busy. Keeping busy? Doing what? His panting tone had none of its usual bass to it. He probably shouldn't have been speaking at all. I was told April went home to shower. I'd bet if she were here, she'd tell him to keep quiet and rest. For him, that was impossible when I came through. Volunteering with a Pop Warner team? I scoffed. The sound alone seemed strange, but I enjoyed it, especially seeing the unfolding talent I'd peeped so far. Little League. Mighty Mites. I chuckled quietly at my checked ego. Yeah, big leaguer meets Little League. Oh, yeah? He breathed shallowly from his diaphragm, more like panted. I remember your time in that division. The tiniest thing out there with the most focus. Yeah, but not the most talent. That was Trick. I glanced down at my watch. Only a few minutes until I needed to hit the road for practice. I'm surprised it ain't blasted all over the news. Wouldn't be, though. They only blast negativity about you. He was referring to my charges, trial, conviction, and imprisonment. They can't blast what they don't know. I'm not an official coach. I'm just out there working with them. I wore hoodies on some days, scully caps on others. I'd even grown a beard to cover my identity. These kids were so small, they had no idea. Their parents, on the other hand, were an altogether different matter. I stayed away from the crowds, kept my head down, giving very little eye contact. The few who knew were respectful of my privacy after the coaches spoke with them. You heard from your Grams? I stopped by to see her before I came here. She talking about Trick coming home soon. Yeah, he panted. 2 months. Hoping. I swallowed hard. Eyes fell right away. It's been what, 10 years? 10 the hard way, man. He panted, pitched the note of a soprano most times now. I nodded. It was that time. I only wanted the best for you guys, man. You, Trick, and Trey. Trey was his younger brother, the one underneath him while Trick was the baby. Trey died in a car accident when I was in high school. Coincidentally, Trick and I were the same age. Weird for uncle and nephew dynamics, but true. As I absorbed Shank's claim, I didn't say, but I knew it. I'd pay for it. It was at the expense of my relationship with Trick. For him, my relationship with Shank resembled too closely what his should have been with his older brother. I never understood it myself, but coming up as a youngin', Shank tended to me more than an uncle should. It was as close to the father I never had. It confused me at times and angered Trick all the time. The door opened and in came a full-figured woman, no more than 5'4". I remember the first time I met her. She had the most desired hourglass shape around. Over the past 15 years, she'd inflated, grew 3 times the size I'd met her. But April was still fine in her own right. She rocked a golden tapered cut just an inch from her scalp. It was curled and styled into a mohawk. This was different for her, but I liked it. Her cinnamon eyes still sparkled when they saw me. Always had. Trent! She smiled on a contented breath. I stood to greet her. You made it. We met each other in a tight embrace. She smelled good like always. Yeah, they told me you just left to go and shower. I tucked my hands in my pockets halfway. This dude obviously sensed you coming. He just woke up. She laughed, waving off my soft flirtatious compliment. April had been used to it. Shank made sure we all spoiled her like a queen from the moment he finally got his shit together and married her. Yep, he'd married her knowing his HIV status. She knew too, and was still down for the matrimony, eager in fact. I never understood it, but always respected it. Their love and commitment had always spoke volumes to me. It was a gift and a curse. April's dedication to my uncle taught me women were riders and needed. It also gave me x-ray vision on the thousands of groupies I'd encountered from the beginning of my career. Real women were built like April. Those types weren't being produced anymore. Even my uncle agreed. How you making out, Trent? Everything all right? She asked. I'm surviving. We're days from fall. New season, you know. Good, Trent. She smiled again as she made it to the other side of the bed and kissed Shank on the forehead. She whispered to him, You good, baby? You need something to eat? Shank breathed. Yeah. Not hungry, though. There was a comfort level he had with her at the most difficult time of his life. Theirs was a love that was rare. I'd never seen anything like it before. I knew Shank. He was a wild boy in his day. Women around the way still asked about him when I would visit my hometown. He was like a legend of sorts. Yet April didn't focus on that. She held him down as though he was a saint. I'm gonna hit this road. I got practice tonight. Hope I...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?